Okay, and we're live. Meeting's yours, Mr. Supervisor.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special Township Board meeting of September 28th, 2021. This is an electronic meeting, is being held electronically as authorized under the Open Meetings Act, Public Act 267, 1976. As amended, members of the public body and members of the public may participate electronically as described on our website and posted throughout our township. That I'd like to call our meeting to order, and I would like us to stand for Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
indivisible,
God,
liberty,
indivisible,
justice for
with
all.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sounds better in person. I think you said that, Mike, last time. We're almost harmonized.
Yes.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Supervisor Kowa,
Here. White Lake.
Treasurer Roman,
Here, White Lake.
Clerk Noble, here White Lake, Michigan. Trustee Smith,
Here, White Lake Township.
Trustee Voorhees,
Present, White Lake Township, Michigan.
and Trustee Powell.
Here, White Lake, Michigan.
Okay. That being said, looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a
Mr.
motion to
Noble,
approve, approve the agenda.
a motion
Voorhees
to
will
approve.
support that.
I have motion from Anthony Noble and support from Voorhees. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Powell,
Here. Yes.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Supervisor Kowa.
Yes. Motion carries. Before we get into public comment, one of the things that I want to call the public's attention is the intention of this meeting tonight. The intention of this meeting is to introduce our budget for 2022 year. It is merely an introduction. It is not being voted on. It is merely an introduction to the public and to the trustees. The second item is our truth and taxation, which is an action that is required by the state every year. Nothing new. To collect taxes, and it's based on the values of local property, and it captures new, improved, and existing properties. And that is a requirement by law, and we will get into that resolution a bit later. That being said, I'm opening for public comment at this time.
Need support? Or
Oh,
looking
you
for a motion?
No, we don't need a motion for that, but we'll.
Oh, gotcha.
That's all right. We're open public comment. Any comment at this time, Brian?
No callers on the line at the moment.
That being said, we'll close public comment. Moving on to budget discussion. First of all, I apologize for my little cranky voice here and kind of craggly because I've been recovering from COVID induced pneumonia, and I am on the mend, and we'll be back at it very shortly here. And I'd like to thank everyone at the township and my staff in particular for working diligently to keep things moving right along. So that being said, the budget before you is very similar to the years prior to. I know a lot of you just had a chance to take a look at it. But what I'd like to do is, in the event that you have any questions on the two, which would be fire and police, I would like to address those first so that it will allow both chiefs to kind of be on their way this evening with other things that they may have to do. So as you notice before you on the, let's get to go to the back of the book here first. The fire budget, excuse me. Yes, the fire budget includes, I believe, also from calculations that Elaine worked with John in its numbers, 2 additional firemen. So that will increase our force and also help us eliminate some of the overtime that we've had over the last couple of years. And it will also allow us to get in a better position to eventually get station number 3 open. So I believe we would be going currently from 18 to 21. And if we have one out that we're going to be just replacing, so it would normally would be 19, but the additional 2 would put us at 21. Is there anything you'd like to ask the Chief John Holland? Anyone from the board at this time?
As a Station 3 person, I
Raise your hand. Okay,
Sorry.
recognize, raise your hand. Andrew Voorhees.
sorry, as a Station 3 person, I love that it's open part-time. Part-time is better than nothing. And looking forward to probably 9 months from now, maybe having those 2 additional firefighters.
I don't have the exact timeline on that. John could talk to us about that. John?
Yeah, I don't, right now, I have 2 people off on long-term medical.
Mhm.
I have a retirement coming up
Yep.
in November. It's been challenging with our manpower. I'm gonna plan on replacing those as quick as I can. I'm hoping the list is gonna be certified, our eligibility list soon. And then I came up with 2 more additional, that would put us at 7 guys per shift. So at worst case scenario, we go down to 5, but yeah, I want to get Station 3 opened. It's been very challenging with the overtime, due to COVID, the overtime rates were high. Our part-time staff really isn't coming through for us like I would hope. And once we get through this, I'd like to see us to get to this staffing level just so we can keep the stations open. But I did cut my overtime budget. If you look at it, almost in just about in half, because I'm really anticipating with this additional staff, I'm not going to have these concerns anymore. Because at worst case scenario, board members, I have to keep 2 stations open minimum. We are far too busy to go down to 1 station. We're running so many calls that we're significant call volume now, especially in Station 2's area. You guys can see the growth that's going on. And as our population increases, I certainly anticipate higher call volumes. So I worked a lot with Elaine, and Elaine was great working with me. And early on, I asked her, I said, look, I want to make sure that we can, it's not only just putting into the budget, I got to make sure we can sustain this 2 additional persons. And everything balanced out, and she was great working with me on this. So, but again, I wish I had a better timeline for you. I don't. Trust me, people are not knocking down our door to come work.
Yeah.
It's not just us. It's a national thing. These jobs, I don't know why they're just not, I'm trying to make it as attractive as I can here. I mean, we're one of the few communities that still offers an actual retirement. We have a great benefit package, but this younger generation, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be a huge concern of theirs. I don't know what the schools are teaching them. They don't teach them about, when you get out in the job force, how important that is. I don't know what it is, but we're going to do some real active recruiting with our part-time staffing now. We're working on the career contracts right now. So once we get through that, we're driving forward. It's just at a slow pace, No,
John, I get it. I know. I like I say, when I see vehicles there, I get excited, and I get it. I try to explain that to the people of White Lake when that does come up in conversation. So I agree. It's not a fast process, John. We're doing the best we can in these odd times and odd staffing times. So no, you're good. I love it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Powell, you had your hand up? Or
I did, and maybe and Elaine may need to chime in here to help me out just a little bit. I can certainly see where the drop in revenues are expected this year. And I guess I had and without me deep diving into it myself, Elaine's the expert and the chief is, we're 150,000, 160,000 less this year in the budget revenue side, which translates in the same in the expenditure side. So I was just curious why we're down in revenues when we're expected actually to be increasing in property taxes. And then also if we're proposing a couple new employees, a couple new firemen, what are we reducing in expenditures to allow that to happen with our reduction in revenues?
Who wants to touch on that?
I
Elaine
think that's a,
or
yeah,
John?
appropriate question for Elaine, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Elaine.
Okay. To directly address the drop in revenues, problem is that it's basically the use of fund balance. In 2021, if you go to page 10, at the bottom of the total revenues, you'll see use of fund balance.
Yep.
And in 2021, we were budgeted to spend about $800,000 of what used to be the 04M money. So it doesn't look that's going to happen this year, so we'll just put that back in savings. In 2022, we're only budgeting to use $570,000 of that fund balance. So that is, almost your $230,000 difference as far as revenues from 2021 to 2022. It's not true revenues, it's use of our savings.
So the second half of my question was then, if we are looking to hire additional staff, what are we cutting in expenditures to allow the additional staff hiring? And on the reduced revenues?
Well, the revenues actually are not reduced. We are taking in more tax revenues. The only difference in reduction with the revenues is use of our savings. So we're not going to use that $800,000 probably this year. So that'll go back into our savings. As far as sustainability of 2 new firefighters, at the end of last year, we had about $3 million fund balance in the fire department. So when we did our millages and renewed and created new ones a number of years ago, we actually forecasted to have really zero fund balance by this point. But instead, both police and fire have been able to grow their fund balances, so they have monies in their savings to use for, expenditures, staffing, and so forth.
So bottom line is, even though the 2021 budget was $80,000 more than the 22 budget, they're not going to use all of that, and therefore the actual expenditures this year will be more than last year when we end up in our final accounting.
Expenditures for next year, if everything is spent as programmed, will be more in the end, yes. Because
Okay.
we did not get the new vehicles in 2021 that did, we obviously because of all the supply line issues, that's going to push forward into 2022.
All right, thank you. That helped me out, Elaine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the board members at this time? Or John? Okay, as you know, it's preliminary, and I would strongly advise any of my board members that as you review this, if you come up with questions, by all means, reach out to John, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to address them any way that we can. Okay, thank you, John. At this time, I'd like to move over to the police fund. And Dan, are you there?
I am, sir.
Yeah, and I also understand you are also asking for one additional officer, which will bring us up to 22. Will that be 22 officers and 42 overall, something like that?
41 overall.
Okay.
30, I believe 30 officers. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. And you seem to be able to be balancing without too much.
Sorry
30.
to interrupt.
I beg
We
your
have
pardon?
30. We have 30 right now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, and that being said, you seem to be able to do okay on your budget at this time. Do you have any questions or concerns that you might have, Dan, for your forecast?
I do not. I'm open for any questions.
Okay, Anyone at this time, any questions for Chief Keller regarding his budget? And again, it is Mr. Noble.
Appears that you've saved quite a bit of money, Chief, last few years. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So, as I said last meeting, I'm particular about my budget. I don't like to overspend. The overtime is always looked upon weekly to make sure that it's in line. And Elaine does a good job budgeting. So she always, at least when we have our conversation, she budgets worst case scenario. And in the end, that helps the police department because it's not always worst case scenario. And we have saved year after year. And I don't know if you can look at our sections, and it always says we use the fund balance to cover the costs, but I always ensure that gets whittled down to as much as zero as possible. And in the previous years, since I've been chief, we've always put money into our fund balance. And I believe our fund balance is in for the police department is about 65% to my recollection.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that.
Good, healthy numbers. Good job, Chief. Any
Great
questions?
job.
Any questions for the chief at this time? And again, we'll compile any additional as you do further review. Yes, Mr. Powell.
I'm not sure how the chief can balance his budget with that huge increase that we gave the crossing guards, but I'm glad that you were able to do that, chief.
I gotta tell you what, so my team officer title was super excited when you guys approved that $15. I tried to take credit for it, but he knew better. He said the board did a good job and he appreciates that you guys pushed that through, and I appreciate it too. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Any other additional questions at this time for Chief Keller? Again, compile what you have and we'll have time to, review and ask questions between now and then. Okay. The next thing I'd like to do is go over the water and sewer budget. Mr. Potter is here. If you folks have any questions for his particular budget at this time, we know there's a lot of changes and improvements going on in that department. We also have some additional help coming in. So any questions at this time for Mr. Potter? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that we pay Oakland County a bunch of money to take care of our sewer system. So I know that for a fact.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, several $1 million. So that's a conversation for another day. But nonetheless, I think your house is in order, fairly well order. And again, the questions are compiled over the next few weeks. I'm sure the board members can put that information together and you can have some conversation with them. Next item is going to be, before I move on, any other questions for Mr. Potter? Again, second chance? No? Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like
Mr.
to. Yeah, I'd
Noble.
like to. Since I got on the board, I'd like to compliment Aaron Potter for being conservative with his numbers and going into it. He always looks at the long game and tries to fiscally be responsible as far as his budgeting. So, what job well done, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you also notice, okay, we'll move on to we'll call the general township budget. And if you notice that we're actually going to be our 2020 was 6.7, our amended 21. If you notice, it says 10.884, but what that was a shift of the $5 million that we took out to set aside to improvement and revolving, and that was by board action and it reflects in our budget. So we're well within our budget, and our proposed budget for 22 is just a little over 6 million. So we're actually a little bit further ahead of the game, as well as long as things go according to Hoyle, as we all know. Does anyone have any questions on the general township budget at this time? Mr. Powell.
just one, and it just caught my attention on the Board of Trustees
Page.
section. Page, oh my gosh, page 2. Middle of the page.
All right.
I guess I didn't know what fees and per diem is for. We got a $3,500 increase in that, and then that, and then the audit fees jumped up quite a bit, and I didn't know why they're attributed in the Board of Trustees instead of the general township.
That is an Elaine question as far as her allocation of where she likes to put that stuff. So I'll let her address that. Elaine?
Hi again. Okay, so the fees and per diem are been primarily in the past just for your recording secretary. However, with COVID and having to do merge meetings and videotaping and Zoom, it's really increased the cost. And so I just, given that we've already spent $9,000 and we're not even at the end of the year, and goodness knows what's going to happen next year. If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. But I thought I would go ahead and bump that up a little bit. So I'll have to go back and look at the audit fees for the allocation. Probably.
And then the audit
too
fees,
light
he was
on-
curious why you put those where you did.
Oh, the audit fees have always gone under the Board of Trustees because it's a board expense. It's been there since the beginning of time.
Okay.
If you want it somewhere else, I'll move it.
It's fine, right where it's at.
But that's always been identified by the Michigan Accounting General Ledger rules as being under the Board of Trustees.
And then Elaine, I didn't check through the entire section here, but I'm wondering how much we are allocating towards the creation of the new boardroom.
I don't have any real specifics on that one. We do have, quite a good budget in our improvement and betterments account. So we could definitely be using that money for, the new board meeting.
And where would I find that line item, Elaine?
On page 6,
Okay, thank you.
just above the total maintenance.
And Mike, that was my intention, was to use the betterment improvement monies that we have.
Okay,
So
thank you.
as well as the technology that we spent. So good question though. Any other questions at this time about the general, we'll call it housekeeping budgets? Okay. All right. Any other questions, like on Park and Rec? If you want to take a quick peek at that. Calls out what the plans have been and recommendations from the parks folks, and monies that we have spending for some of the larger projects, for example, the pathway projects, and then the general park improvements because of the commitments that we're making for hopefully for grants that we're going to have in particular for Stanley Park. So if you have any questions on any of that, again, right now, very preliminary, but it's all subject to getting our grant and things of that nature. Some of that money is to be spent because obviously if we don't get that, the grant, we may not be matching anything. So, but we want to at least plug that in there so that we're prepared and we can show that we're in a position to move forward with it. And the rubbish fund is, any other questions on Park and Rec at this time? Mr. Roman.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to make a comment. The fields that we have, the soccer fields, as well as our baseball fields, were never designed to be money makers. They cost a lot of money to maintain. Our soccer fields are cut twice a week in order to allow the St. Pat's kids to play. So I know the issue has come up before, but I just wanted to, just let you all know that those are not designed to make money. They'll never make money. But we are providing a service that our communities love. They love the, the fields and the soccer fields. And so I just thought I would put that out there.
Thank you, Mr. Roman. Certainly appreciate that. Yeah, that's just part of the cost of our recreation for our community, of which is greatly appreciated. Mr. Powell.
That being brought up, I'm certainly aware that the soccer fields and the soccer clubs and the baseball clubs have been offering to other communities to not only pay for the maintenance, but also to build new fields because there is such a shortage of fields. Do we not charge and maybe field rental here? We collect $6,000 and we spend $60,000. Is that the way I read that?
Mr. Roman?
Yeah, you're probably right, Mike. Yeah.
I mean, they've been offering other communities to spend $150,000 to $300,000 to build fields, and then they would maintain them totally. And so we may want to look into something maybe a little more organized and less, well, we may want to look at that.
Yeah, Mike, I can't say for sure whether that $60,000 is just our fields. That could be some of our parks as well. Could be some Bloomer Park. I don't know that for sure. What I can tell you for sure is we don't take enough revenue in from baseball and soccer to cover the grounds maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they're not a money-making proposition, that's for sure. So,
is there some reason? Okay, never mind. I'm good. Thank you.
okay, we can have some further discussion on that. Mr. Powell will be happy to entertain that, and I'm sure Mike and Mr. O'Neill would be happy. Mike Roman and Mr. O'Neill will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, moving on to our rubbish fund. As you can see, the money comes in and the money goes out. So, but we are fortunate that we have. The board had the wisdom to enter into the 5-year contract that we did this last renewal, and I think that's putting us in a very good position. And it continues to have a very good relationship with GFL. And I might add, I still get comments from the public from time to time about our home has a day that we have in the summer to help collect all those nasty things that people just don't know what to do with. So I think it was a real good move on this board's part to pursue that and continue to keep that relationship going. Our PA 188, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, is starting to do what I was hoping it would do, and that is that we have it's starting to generate. I'm getting a better return on my P88 money than Mike Roman is on his investment at the township.
Totally agree.
It's a little feather in the cap there, but that's by design of this board, and we will continue to see this fund grow. And I would love to, as time goes by, to keep adding seed to this fund, so we eventually can help fund many improvements on our own and have the township benefit different ways. Benefit on the improvement. As you know, Mr. Powell, there's some little sewer areas, those small ones that aren't worth bonding. Those 20 houses, that we want to try to pick up on an area. This is the perfect tool for this. And if we can just stick with this program and continue to reinvest the money from the 188 in this program, I think it'll start the perpetuity of funding available for these types of projects. So my hat's off to the board for making those decisions and being supportive of this. Because it is actually coming to fruition. Thank you.
Well, while we're on that subject, Mr. Supervisor, I just throw in a little little request that the board consider. It's a win-win all the way around for us to put together a connection SAD, Special Assessment District. And that can be either by petition or by township board initiated. And it's a no-brainer because it's 100% contributory. In other words, it's voluntary. Everyone that is in the SAD is there because they want to be there. And the township can be in a position to assist them in connecting to the sanitary sewer. So not only does it assist in operating the system, but it brings a cash flow into the system and greatly enhances the potential of the Act 188 here and allows us to then to extend sanitary sewers. So I'm going to be pushing for a special assessment district to get people connected into the sanitary sewer this next year.
Okay, I think what we can do is we'll have some conversation on that at one of our sewer meetings, Mike.
Yes, that'd be great.
We have to get, yeah, I think it's a really good idea to try to allocate a certain amount of that monies for it. And if we can pull in a certain number of them, we're that much further ahead.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay, great. No more 188 conversation? Okay. The improvement in revolving, as you can see, we have been able to set some money aside for obviously the projects that we have forthcoming. So we're in a fairly good position. Mr. Roman, can you tell us what the total amount is in the improvement in revolving
You know
fund?
what, Rick? My mouse died about 15 minutes ago. So I can't get onto my computer. I apologize. Elaine might know though.
You got to feed those. You got to feed those things, Mike.
Well, evidently I failed. I've starved it to death.
Elaine, do you have an approximated amount?
At the end of last year, we had almost 3.1 million, and then we transferred the 5 million this year. So if I just take those numbers, we're looking at about 8.1 million.
Okay, thank you. Close enough. Thank you very much. And of course, we've had some connection fees in the Western District. We've had of course, we had our property purchase that we made. That was one of the things that we did for the final section of land in Elizabeth Lake. And we've had some different outlay that we've done for the discovery and involvement in the Civic Center area. That will continue to kind of go back and forth as monies are spent and we decide which direction we're going in. Drug forfeiture, we don't have a ton of it right now. I know that, Dan has some guys out there doing their thing and we'll kind of see what happens. CDBG, we obviously only have a certain amount of allocation and we're watching to see what's going to happen this year as things as good as they are in some respects have tightened up on some of that money. And I find that a little disheartening because we've got a lot of people that could really use these benefits. And unfortunately, we have a lot of folks that I know Trishul's will be running around with their hair on fire before too long because people's roofs and furnaces and hot water tanks are going to be the big issue. And of course, you can't get real far with the roof anymore. And even the hot water tank has gone from, $450 to, $1,000 now by the time you have a plumber come in and do it. So we're doing what we can, but I will tell you, this board has done a great job at putting those monies where they're best needed. And we are making a difference in person's lives. No question about it. There's that ugly sewer maintenance again, Aaron. There's a big number there. And I know that it's a necessary evil and we have to have that in order to maintain the system that we have. So,
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes, Mr. Powell.
I just wanted to point out to our fellow board members that you and I discussed it at the meeting with Commerce Township. But that was one of the items that we are going to be looking at with Commerce Township and the intergovernmental agreement to allow us to evaluate going to the private sector to assist us to maintain our sewer system instead of relying on the county. And so hopefully we'll have some news this summer about that.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we'll keep moving forward with that. Excuse me. All right. I just got a little quick note from Justin touching back on the fields, Mr. Powell. There hasn't been any real heated party coming forward to assist us with anything, but it doesn't mean we can't find someone in the future, or there might be some persons out there, just to let you know that he's aware of it, so. Okay, are there any other questions on the information as you have before you this evening?
Maybe just an overall comment.
Yes.
As testified by Chief Holland and Dan, and I'm sure the rest of the departments there in the township will probably recognize as well. It's very, very difficult to get personnel, and especially qualified personnel, let alone expertise in personnel. And maybe it's not necessarily money that is keeping people from applying, but I certainly know, since I practice in so many different communities, that every community out there is looking for employees, and they're sweetening up the employee benefits hugely. And I'm going to be harping on this, and it would be a shame to lose the incredible staff, Mr. Kowal, that you've put together there. And they're being tempted every place they go to leave White Lake and go somewhere else. And so I look maybe to you to lead on that a little bit and give them a reason to stay, and the new people a reason to come to us, other than just dollars. Because as pointed out by Chief Holland and Dan, the youngsters don't think of dollars anymore. That's why the Google and the Amazon and all those guys, they're rated first rate to work for, because of the quality of the benefits, and they're taken care of very, very well at their offices. And we need to think about that if we're going to keep people.
Okay, I agree with you, Mr. Powell. No truer words could be spoken, and we are looking at different things right now to bring forth and have some conversation with the board in the very, very near future.
Good.
Before I close on that, just to let you know, the projected budget, because make the public aware of it. The proposed budget for General Township is $6,040,258 for 2022. So, okay, that being said, any other questions on the budget at all, and information brought before you earlier in this process? All right. With that, that was our budget discussion. And now I would like to go to our public hearing to commit regarding the levying of taxes for the public through truth and taxation. So at this time, I am going to, Janine, are you there? Our assessor, Janine Smith.
I'm here.
Okay, I am going to at this time make a motion to open the public hearing, and for the persons of anyone in the public that has any kind of comment about the truth and taxation resolution that's put before us this evening, which will show up on the township winter tax bills in 2021. So I am making a motion to go into a public hearing, looking for support.
Support that, since I was so eager to do that right away. I apologize. I heard the word public. My mind just went to public hearing initially. So
All right,
sorry
no
about
problem.
that.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Smith. I have motion. I have support from Trustee Smith. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kowal,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
We are now in public hearing for the truth and taxation. Anyone in the public at this time would like to make a comment on the truth and taxation, please do so at this time. Brian?
No callers in the meeting at the moment.
I have one. Is that someone else, Brian, the ending 9721?
Yes,
That's
that's Elaine.
Okay, thank you. I apologize.
Okay, that being said, and we have no public at this time, I'll make a motion to close public hearing at this time, looking for support.
Support it. Oh, go ahead.
I support. Pardon?
Andrea was supporting Supervisor.
Oh, no,
Andrea?
you're good. You're good. You could, Anthony, you would have been okay.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Support by Mr. Noble. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Supervisor Kowal,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Powell,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Okay, Janine, you care to give just a brief synopsis of this for the public, for the record?
Just to say that it's just required by state law that you approve the millages that the voters already voted for. So that's basically what you're doing, is just approving what the voters already voted for.
Right, it's just kind of like a recap, so it allows new, improved, and current properties to be taxed at that rate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board at this time? Mr. Powell?
I noticed that something's missing here, and that's the 2 or 3 mills for our new township hall. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Powell.
Yes.
We're working on it, so we're working on it, so. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Roman?
Just to let the board know that all of our police and fire millages, they all expire December 31st of this year. So we do have to start thinking about renewals.
When you say this year, you mean 2022?
Well, the millages expire after we levy this winter tax.
Oh, okay.
So we've got one more year of tax that's already been approved. So yeah, as far as the tax bill goes, Mike, you're correct. We need to renew for the 2022 winter.
Okay, thank you. I almost came out of my seat there because we're a little late this year.
No, we're good. We're good, Mr. Powell. Okay, any other further questions this time? If not, I'm entertaining a motion for resolution 210 Voorhees.
I can't hear what you said, Rick. You were really broken up. Sorry.
Make a motion, Andrea.
I didn't even hear what he said. Seriously, from my
Do you want to
end.
make a motion in?
I can make a
make a
motion.
motion.
Go ahead, Liz.
Oh,
Trustee
go ahead,
Smith.
Mr. Noble, go ahead.
Trustee Smith wanted to make the motion.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, Anthony. It's okay.
Trustee Smith, please proceed.
We're on
Sure.
delayed time here with the
I'd like to
freezing
make a
up.
motion to approve resolution 21-037, truth and taxation.
I have a motion from trustee Smith. I have Mr. Powell.
Or
I have support from Mr. Powell. Mr. Noble, roll call vote.
Supervisor Kowal,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Powell,
yes.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes, I can hear that.
Clerk Noble, yes.
Okay, thank you all. It looks like we're in good shape. And again, thank you for attending tonight's meeting, and thank you, White Lake. And with that, I will say I make a motion to adjourn. I will make,
Voorhees will support.
and Voorhees says support. Yep.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Yes.
If I could just, and I know, I apologize, there's no trustee comments.
Nope.
Just one item that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention and especially Andrea. I was going to send out an email to several people just to make sure we did this, and that's we're going into negotiations on easements for the water main all the way down Bogey Lake Road from M59 south to the high school. I certainly hope that with all the negotiations and the payment of the monies for that easement, that we don't limit it to just water main. There ought to be a pathway easement on the surface as well as the underground as well also. So,
Yeah. Mr. Potter might have a comment on that.
Yeah, Mike, that water main is going to be 100% inside the public road right away. There are no additional easements that are being purchased for that water main.
Okay, thank you for letting me know that. I guess I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
There was one small section right
It's
on
within-
the school's property for the meter.
It is within,
We lost Rick.
Star Trek again.
Yeah, there was one small section inside the school's property that they've already granted us easements at no cost for the standard $10 fee. But the rest of that is inside the road right away, so there won't be any easements necessary.
Okay, thank you very much.
Guys, did we vote on the adjournment? I don't remember.
We did not yet. I interrupted.
Hey, Rick's back.
yeah, thanks, Mike. Okay.
You froze up.
I made a motion to adjourn. Somebody was supporting.
I was supporting it.
Who was
Andrea
supporting?
was.
Motion, support, roll call vote, Mr. Noble.
Supervisor Kowal,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yep.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes, and I just want to say as our last meeting here, great job, everybody, sticking through Zoom for a year and a half or more. And I look forward to seeing you in person. So I believe this is our last one. So great job, everyone.
Trustee Powell.
Yes, and good night, everyone.
And I would like to thank Elaine for her hard work and Dawn
Yes.
putting this together. It's excruciating and they're under a lot of, they're really busy back there. So I appreciate them. And Clerk Noble, yes.
And they both do the lion's share of this work, let me tell you. So, okay, good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be safe.
Say.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. I appreciate it.